All right, this is technically the second Sunday message or whatever you want to call it. The first Sunday message I did, which was it 2 weeks ago or last week? I can't remember now at this point. But I was too fearful to, I'm gonna say promote it, right? I guess the word's promote because you gotta, if you put it up on YouTube and don't put it on any other platform, then most likely no one's gonna see it that follows you on any other platform. So it's easy for me because I'll say, hey, yeah, I was too fearful to share that message and let others see it. And so this Sunday, when I was, waking up doing my thing or whatever, I was thinking about that. Like, why were you too fearful to share it? Was it because you said something that you thought others might not agree with? Which now in my life, I pride myself on the lack of care for that, right? The lack of care if so and so sees this video and thinks, man, like, I don't agree with the way he shares his message or the way he thinks about faith or the way he views it and whatever and all that. So I feel like that's my mission in life, but at the same time, I wasn't standing on it last week. So anyways, I think when I do these, and it's like important for me to explain why I do these. First, I do not think that these are for you or anyone else. I think they're for me, truthfully. I think that me sharing and being open with whoever watches this is my way of saying like that no longer has power to over me, all right, or power to say, hey, you were this way, blah blah blah, and that's it. Um, so I think it's important for me to share a little bit of my history, like why or where faith comes into it and how it plays into it, and then also how it may have shifted and why it shifted. So first, I grew up in the church, every week, every Sunday, lock-in, shut-ins, all that good stuff, youth church, all those things, right? With the belief of like, you do this and you do that and God is pleased. You do this or you do that, God is not pleased. And so you better go ahead, and when he says it's time to go up there because you've been backsliding or whatever the word was the pastor used, you better get up there because you have been, right? Because you haven't been doing such and such the correct way. So that's how I grew up. That's how I was in the faith. So then, you take that and you magnify it by expectations of others, and then you go through and you just keep on rocking, right? And so that was something that I had to learned how to deal with, live with, all the good things you want to say, whatever the word is. And then as I got older, it was just expectation on the expectation. I'm trying to adhere to those expectations, but I'm also trying to say, crap, I got to read my Bible, do these things. Otherwise, God's going to look at me like whatever, right? Um, yeah, and all that good stuff. So that's kind of like the little summary there. But and then I think the way I was truly tested with it was when I got married, right? When I got married, thinking that was what I should do, and then realizing quickly that I was in the wrong position, like I shouldn't have done this. It was like, instead of being like, okay, you need to be open and honest with, everybody or the person you're with, you instead think, shoot, you know, and then when you try, you're like, I don't know if I can do this because if I do, then I failed in marriage and I failed as a quote unquote Christian or whatever the words you want to use, right? And then when you start to share and open to people, they're like, what are you thinking? Like, that's not true. Feelings don't matter. The Bible says this, the Bible says that. You were kind of in this position of like, whoa, step back, let me figure out what is this, like what's going on, right? And through all that, I lost a lot of relationships because in my mind, right, like I was like, wait a second, this is what I want to do because I think it's the best thing and I think it's the most honorable thing to do because this is not working, right? I had all that. And so it was like all over the place. And you have to think now I'm doing other things to sabotage things, right? Like, now I'm not ashamed to say it. It's unfortunate that I resorted to those things, but, going outside of your marriage and doing these type of things that you shouldn't be doing knowing that they're wrong, but you're just also lost because you're like, why ain't nobody supporting me in this, right? And that's not what I don't want my sons to grow up and think that they have to do other things to, instead of just being honest with people and letting them know like, yo, this is it. This is not how it's going, whatever it may be, right? And I think I took those labels, right, of like, oh, he cheated, he did these things, he did that, right? And those were how I could say I didn't believe those, or I didn't live by those, or those didn't define me. But in the reality, they did, right? Because I wasn't able to really look at myself as anything but that while trying to go out and do all these things, right? But I think the hard thing in life that for me at least that I went through and learned through and grew through is that people are going to have whatever opinion they have, even the people closest to you. So I think that's one thing that it's hard to really grasp, right? Like, you have family and you think their family is going to be this way. They might not be that way. They might think that they're doing the right thing because they have this faith or they have this belief, and they're going to tell you this because they have read this. But it could be those people that are still going to be the ones, they might not be quote unquote on your side, right? And that's why I think it's important for us to learn how to support ourselves and how to stand by what we believe and what we want to do or whatever that may be, because like I said, that may never come. And that has been something that's hard for me, but something that I'm starting to understand and grow from is that people closest to you, closest to you, may not support you. They may not stand up for you. They may not do anything that you expect them to do. And that's okay. Right. And it's not one of those things, where you're like, damn, my family doesn't care. My family doesn't, because they probably don't. They think they care and they think they may be doing the right things. But in the reality, you're like, damn, like, you're not even seeing this. You're not saying anything about this. You're not doing anything about this. But and that's just how it's going to be. And I think you have to learn sometimes to be like, okay, like, I got this, right? And I think from all of these things I'm talking about, this is what led me to be like, damn, like, as I come into a more spiritual life, and I'm not saying God, whatever, the universe, whatever it may be, right? Like, as I'm listening to these songs, as I'm listening to my spiritual or praise or worship music, whatever you want to say, that's the when I feel those words, right? That's when I feel those things. I'm like, okay, I see what you're saying now, right? Something that I've been sitting with a lot is there's a artist, and his first name's Toby. I cannot say his last name, so I'm not going to butcher it. It starts with the N, but he has a song called Heal, right? And the verse that he like kind of, he has from Houston, amazing voice, all that good stuff. And the words, it's not, I guess you say it's gospel hymns, whatever, but it's in a way that, quote unquote, you couldn't sing in church, right? He says a verse about his dog caught a body and he put a man 6 feet underground, and he ain't been the same. And he's asking God to heal all of his people, heal all of his friends, right? And that to me is something that I'm like, wow, that's amazing, because we are trying to, go and live this life and do these things, but we're so caught up in what people think or what people are going to look at us like that we can't even live the life that we want to live. So if I leave you with anything, it's stand on business. But your past doesn't have to be your present. It doesn't have to define you. It can make you, and it can show you how to be a much better person. So that's what I leave you with. I'm definitely sharing this one, and I don't really care if you watch it or you don't watch it, but it's more for me sharing it because I feel like that's something that's really important.